So today I want to talk about looks and beauty and self-esteem and how all of that has affected me. I identify as a feminist, and sometimes I'm reluctant to talk about looks because I think, well, if I was a good feminist, then how I look wouldn't matter to me, or it shouldn't affect me, or I shouldn't give it more weight than it already has. But the reality is that, how I look and how I feel about my looks has been a pretty profound experience in my life, and it continues to be. And I think especially because I'm a woman of color, I'm a black woman, I'm black people, absolutely, how I look has affected the way that I relate to the world around me, and being black has affected the way people relate to me. So it's an important issue to me. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. So strap in. This is probably going to be a long vlog, but I hope that some people out there can relate and can get something out of it. All right, so I'm gonna go way back to when I was a little girl. So 3-4 is pretty much when my memories start. And when I was little, I didn't care very much about how I looked. I've always been very drawn to things that I think are beautiful, and I've always been really interested in like clothing and textiles and fabric. So I cared about what I was wearing. I was very particular about the colors I was wearing. If I saw a beautiful dress, I wanted to put it on. My mom used to put ribbons in my hair, and I really loved them because they were all kinds of different colors and textures and things like that. So in that way, it mattered to me, but what just I looked like my face and body, whatever, I didn't really think about beauty as it related to human beings when I was really little. I was like, human beings are just human beings. And I was a kid, and sometimes people would be like, oh, you're a pretty little girl, and it didn't mean anything to me. It was like, okay, they just must be commenting on my dress or my clothes or whatever. But even then I was like, okay, thanks. It didn't mean anything in terms of my self-worth. The first time I remember thinking that another human being was like pretty or attractive was when I was 6, and in first grade, one of my classmates she had strawberry blonde hair, and she would wear it in these 2 pigtails most of the time, and they would always be tied with these bows made of yarn, and I love the bows, and I love the color of her hair, and I love that when she turned or moved her head, the ponytails would be swingy. I just love that movement. I was like, oh, it was the first time I remember thinking another human being's body or a part of them was attractive. And I have, this is what my hair is like naturally. This is what it was like when I was 6, except there was less gray in it. And I always wore my hair, my mom always put my hair in some kind of braided style, a lot like I have it today. Always, I'd never worn my hair loose, and suddenly I was very intrigued by the idea of wearing pigtails. So I asked my mom if she could let me wear pigtails to school, and she agreed, and she put my hair in these industrial strength bobbles. And I didn't have swingy ponytails, but they were really poofy, and it was just interesting and fun to have my hair in a way that I'd never worn it before, and I was really excited to go to school. And when I got to school, there was this really big reaction from my classmates and even my teacher. Everyone was commenting and sort of like, ooh, we've never seen your hair like that, and it's out. And what I specifically remember is that day, way more kids wanted to play with me and talk to me. I remember I had this whole group around me at recess, and so many people said to me, you should wear your hair like this all the time. And it felt great and terrible at the same time. I loved, having the attention, and I loved having the approval, but I also realized, even though I was 6 and I couldn't put it into words, that there was an implication that the way I'd been wearing my hair before wasn't as good, and I noticed that I was getting more attention just because my hair was different. And so that's also the first time that I think I became aware on any level that there were sort of beauty and look standards, and that I had inadvertently stumbled upon one. It was, oh, loose hair is better than braided up hair. And that's really where all of my having any issue with how I looked started. And it started off very small. I was like, oh, okay, loose hair. I want to have loose hair. And I would ask my mom to wear my hair loose. And she didn't let me do it that often because, you know, my hair is really super coily curly. And when I just wear it out, it gets tangled super easily. Especially then, because as a kid, I'm running around like I don't care. And my mom worked. She didn't have time to, you know, detangle my hair every day because it's a really long process when I wear it out. So I wore my hair up like a lot of little black girls do because that's just the texture of our hair. But yeah, so it started with, I want to wear my hair loose. And I suddenly started looking more closely at things like, you know, shampoo commercials on TV. And I noticed like, yeah, their hair is loose. And then I noticed, oh, and their hair is long. And so I started wanting long hair. And then I, you know, very quickly clued into the fact that, oh, and on those commercials, those men all have like loose, straight, textured hair. And so I wanted that kind of hair. And it got to the point really quickly where every time a shampoo commercial came on TV or I saw one in a magazine, I'd like look at it because I was sort of looking for clues and ways that I could make my hair more acceptable. And strangely, as I was trying to learn to make my hair more acceptable, I started to feel less and less okay about my actual hair. I used to put a blanket over my head all the time, this yellow blanket, and I would pretend it was my hair, and I would do this, and I would feel the blanket move and pretend it was my hair. And then it just snowballed, and I got older, and I started looking for even more and more clues because I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to fit in. I wanted people to like me. I think that's a pretty normal human thing for people to want. And I was learning and, you know, picking up more and more clues that how I looked would affect how much I was accepted and liked. So it started with the hair. And then I very quickly noticed that basically there were just standards across the board for how one should look, and that the closer you were to those standards, the more you were deserving of acceptance and love and being liked and popularity and just, you know, being allowed to exist in the world. I mean, today we still, in North America, we still have fairly powerful Eurocentric standards of beauty, meaning that people who tend to look more white are generally considered prettier. But even what's going on today is nothing compared to when I was a kid, like 25, 30 years ago. It was absolutely blatant. You were blonde, white, blue hair, small nose, delicate little mouth, thin. Oh, that's my phone. I'll be right back. Hang on. All right, I'm back. Phone's off. Sorry about that. Anyway, yeah, there were really blatant standards of beauty that were based on being blonde, white, small nose, delicate lips, big boobs. I did not fit any of those, except for the fact that I'm thin. Anyway, it was like, dang, I'm ugly. Like, I have a big nose and broad lips, which felt even more so when I was going through puberty and I had all of my awkward adolescent transitions happening in my face. I was like, I have dark skin, and all the things that go along with that. Like, I was really self-conscious about my armpits because, you can't see them, I'm in a t-shirt. I have dark armpits. It's just hyperpigmentation. It's a thing that happens when you're black. I'm black! And that was hard. And in high school, I felt like, not only did I feel like I was ugly, I felt like because I was ugly, I had less inherent value, and that I didn't have a right to engage with certain feelings and desires. I had a lot of emerging sexual feelings and romantic desires, and I would watch my friends who were having the same feelings, flirting and kissing and dating and making out and eventually, starting to have sex. And I wanted to have those same experiences, but I didn't feel like I could do that. I felt like it would be absurd and ridiculous, and if I even tried, that everyone would point and laugh at me. I also didn't really feel like I could engage with the things that I love, like clothes, and I was really interested in makeup and watching my friends do things like that, and I was like, I don't feel like I can most of the time, because I didn't feel like I was like, well, I'm not worth that, I'm ugly. And that made me really sad. I love to drive, I love to draw as long as I can remember, and I used to draw myself in these, what I thought were gorgeous outfits. But it was this highly altered, idealized version based on what I thought I should look like, or what I would look like if I was actually beautiful and could actually wear those clothes. And it was sad. It was sad, and I was really sad, and it was awful. And I just sort of accepted that. I was like, I'm not worth that much because of how I look. And eventually that sort of reached peak terribleness. Can you reach peak terribleness? It's a valley. It was a valley of badness. I was in a bad relationship that was really did a lot of damage to me. I'm not going to get into the details of it. And when that ended, I was traumatized and I was frightened, and I was really afraid of something like that happening again. And I mean, it took me a long time to, process it and figure out what I wanted to do and what I could do differently. But one of the things I decided after that was that, okay, I'm letting my feelings about my looks, they're out of control, and I'm making really destructive choices because I feel this way. So I have to do something else. I'm still ugly. So it's like, okay, so maybe I will just accept that I'm ugly and just be like, I'm ugly, it's okay. I'm still an okay person, and I will find my self-worth and value elsewhere. So I tried doing that, and it worked pretty okay for quite a while. So in my very late teens and early 20s, I started letting myself do the things I had wanted to do despite being ugly, or thinking that I was ugly. I started trying to flirt and started dating, and I had a normal boyfriend. I had a boyfriend that I loved and who loved me back, and then I had other relationships and did all of that. And I was awkward and bad at it because it was kind of new to me. I started playing with clothes and fashion again, and again, it was awkward and bad at it because I hadn't done it in so long, and also I was 20, what do I know? But I started feeling happier and making more friends and, doing things I wanted to do. And eventually, I met a new person who is now my partner and my husband, and is amazing and wonderful, and had friends, and, did all kinds of things that were really made me happy. And I was like, oh, I can do all of these things despite being ugly. And 90% of the time I was like, okay, I'm just ugly, it's fine. And then every once in a while, though, I would have that thought, I'm ugly. And all of these feelings would come bubbling up, and just this oppressive sadness and frustration. And it took me a while to figure out what the frustration was. And then finally, I understood that I was frustrated because I didn't want to think I was ugly, because I was deep down under all of this stuff is this core belief from my very early childhood of no. And I remembered what it felt like to just look at myself in a neutral way and look at myself and be like, yeah, that's me. And I was happy because it was it's me, and I get to be me, and that's fine. But it didn't have any value associated with what I looked like. It was just like, that is just what I look like, and I really wanted that back. And in some way, like somewhere in my alligator brain, I knew that all of those things that I told myself about how I was ugly was just stuff that I'd learned and stuff that other people had told me that I had accepted as true, that I didn't actually really deep down believe, but I couldn't get to that deep belief because it was being blocked off by all this other stuff that I learned. I don't know why the stuff that I've learned is this, but I guess I felt it in this part of my body or something. But I really needed to get back to that because I was like, that's my healthy spot. That's my good spot. And so I was like, I'm gonna work on that, even though I have no idea how to unlearn all of this stuff and like unpack it from here. But I was like, I'm gonna try. So that's what I've been trying to do for a really long time, like, I don't know, it's like 7, 8, 9 years or something. I'm not back there yet, but it's a lot better. So some of the things that have worked for me, I've stopped apologizing for looking the way I look. So I went back to my natural hair like 3 years ago. That was huge for me, and I love it. I'm glad I did it. I do wear makeup a lot. I enjoy playing with it, but I'm not wearing it now because I thought it would be weird to wear it when I'm making this whole video about kind of self-acceptance. And I don't apologize for that because there's nothing to apologize for. Same way that I don't, criticize my body for just looking the way that it looks. I'm not doing anything wrong. There's no reason to apologize. I'm not, a bad person because of that. It's just how I look. And I'm not neutral. Like, I'll be honest, there are days where I love the way I look. I'm like, oh, yay, I'm feeling myself. There are days when I don't love how I look, and I've gotten to the place where I'm like, it's okay, I don't have to love the way I look. Just don't let that affect what I do and how I choose to engage with people. Like, I'm like, you don't have to like it, but you also don't have to feel ashamed, like you did something wrong because you don't look amazing today. Fine. And I've also, let my choices in terms of, dressing and accessories and shoes, I've let myself enjoy that more, but I'm trying to be conscious of when that crosses over from being just enjoyment and my own self-pleasure to feeling like an obligation and like, oh, I have to be dressed up and I have to be put together, and if I'm not, and I leave the house and I'm doing something wrong, if I start slipping into those feelings, I'm trying to be more aware of it and just like, rein it back, Nadine, rein it back. You're not doing anything wrong. Again, you're just wearing clothes. It's fine. Because this is what I look like. This is my body. This is my face. And this is what lets me do everything. Like, I should be grateful. I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be in this world. I'm lucky to have friends. I'm lucky to have, a family that I love. I'm lucky to have had so many great experiences, and none of that would be possible without all of this. So this is fine. Anyway, this has been really long, so I'm gonna stop talking. Leave me a comment. Let me know how, your body and your relationship to your looks has affected you in your life. I'd love to hear about it. I'm gonna do a second part about the whole brains versus looks thing and how that's affected me and how I relate to that. But another video, because I've been talking a lot. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you got through this whole thing, you're really nice. And yeah, I will see you again in another video. Hope you have a great day, and yeah, see you soon. Bye.
What do you do if you talk to your kids about sex and they start talking to all of their friends? Check out my latest video for the answer. And since you're here, why not subscribe to my channel? Just click that green button for tons of info about sex ed, parenting, and more.